Hello, Ariana here from Scale and Simplify. This video is going to be about using Zapier to connect other tools with Kartra and push information back and forth through these automations. So if you're not familiar with this tool, it is an automation tool that allows you to, like I said, connect different tools. And so they work on like an if-then basis. So if some information is collected in one tool, then do XYZ in another tool. And I will demonstrate, I'll show you a few examples of how you can use this with Kartra. Obviously, you can use it for many other things as well. So you can sign up for a free plan. It gives you a certain amount of tasks and some functionality, and then you may need to upgrade at some point. But for some of the basic ones that I'll be talking about today, you can definitely get by on the free plan. Okay, so some ideas of where you might use this are if you're using another tool. So here I used to have this one activated where I had a Circle community. Circle is a community platform. And so when somebody signed up in there, I wanted to make sure that they were added into my Kartra account. And so I set up a Zap for it. You can also do things like if for some reason you want to know every time a purchase comes through in Kartra, you want to be notified in Slack, let's say, you can set up an automation to do that. If you're using Facebook lead ads, you can, this is one example here where you can actually take the information from the lead when they sign up through the lead ad and create them, add them into Kartra, tag them, and all of that. Okay, so I will go through examples or a demo of how to set this up, but I wanted to walk through a couple of examples with you. Okay, so the cool thing is that now Zapier has this AI functionality built into it, so you're not really having to even create these from scratch. So if you're a little bit intimidated by the automation side of things, this will help with that. So here, what you need to do is literally just describe in words what kind of automation you want to create. So let's say that you have a type form where you have people fill in an application to work with you, and you want to make sure that they also get added into Kartra and tagged that they have filled in that application. So you're going to say add Google for type form and tag them. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter and it's going to generate the Zap. Okay, so now we have the Zap. I'm going to click try it and I'll explain what each step is doing and how to go through all of the settings. Okay, I will say too that this one, for example, because it's multi-step, will require a paid plan of Zapier. So if you just have, you can add the lead to Kartra, but if you want to add them and tag them, then you will need to have the paid version. But let's go through it. So here you're going to first connect whatever app that you are using. So I'm actually going to change this to Google Forms just because I don't want to connect to a type form right now. Okay, so change Google Forms. So the first step here, again, on the left side here, you're seeing the overview of each step of what's happening. This is the trigger. This is what happens when that trigger is, happens. On the right-hand side in the panel here, you're seeing all of the settings. So this is the tool that we're working with. The first step is the event. So what is the actual trigger? Now, each tool that you're working with as the trigger tool will have a different set of events as options listed here, just depending on what the tool, what kind of things it collects, what its functionality is. So you would go through it and select the most applicable one. So I'm going to do new form response. So when there's a new form response, this automation is going to kick off. So I'm going to click continue. let me just sign in. You'll need to either, there will be an integration option, or I think I already have it integrated, so I'm just needing to sign into it. But each tool here, there will be steps as well as instructions that you can follow for how to integrate that particular tool with Zapier. The instructions are very clear, and I think that you won't have issues with that. Okay, now we have the trigger. So this is where we want to specify which form, right? In this case, which form. So we're getting, here we have the event, which is like the main triggering thing. Here we're getting a little bit more specific as to what exactly will kick this off. So I am just going to select a random form here. And then you can click to test it, and this will just start to pull in the information, see if it can actually gather the info from there. Okay, and so if this all looks like it's information from the form that you have selected, that all looks fine, you can click continue with selected record. Okay, so now we're done with the first step. The second one here is creating the lead in Kartra. Like I mentioned, these do need to happen in 2 steps. So you have to have it create the lead first, and then that's how it will know how to tag the lead. You do need this step even if the lead is already in your Kartra account. So if you're thinking, well, I'm sending this thing only to people who are already on my list in Kartra, you do need this step, because I'll explain why in the third part here. Okay, so here we have Kartra is selected. The event is create new lead. You have the option for other events here. So it can do other things. You can search through that and see if there's something else, but it has selected this for me because that's what I typed in the AI tool. Okay, so I'm just going to hit continue. The account here, I'm already logged in and it's connected to Kartra. If you're not, you would click to add a connection, and again, it's going to instruct you how to do that. Okay, here is where we specify what exactly we want to be pulled into Kartra. So first, email. Now, what's happening here is it's showing all of the data that's been collected in the first step. So it's asking what question from this Google form is the email, right? So I'm gonna put this here as that field. I'll do it again for first name. So here is a list. This is a list of all of the questions in that form that I selected. I'm not sure if there's a name in this one, but I'm just going to select a random question here. So you would select the name field, and then whatever the person types in as the name is going to go in the first name field inside of Kartra as well. Okay, you can add the last name. If you're collecting any of these sort of standard fields, you can populate them. For the most part, at this stage, you're going to have their name, email, and that's about it, maybe phone number. Okay, so now we click continue. You'll get to review it and test step. Now, this is, I'm going to ignore this. Normally you would troubleshoot an error. It's just the form that I'm using as an example, it doesn't have a valid email in there. And so you might get errors if the fields that you're selecting don't match up with the type of information in the field in Kartra. So by that, I mean, if you're selecting an email field, Kartra needs it to actually be an email. And so that's why the error here. But I'm going to click skip test. What you would normally do is you would test it. It would say it's fine, good to go. You would see the little check mark like we have in the first step. And then we go from there. Okay, so I'm going to hit continue. Now that we've added the lead, we can tell the system, hey, take this lead information and apply a tag to that lead that we just added in. Without this, it won't, you don't have a way to tell it which lead to tag without this second step. Okay, so assigning a tag, continue, and this is the action. So obviously before this, you will have needed to create the tag inside of your Kartra. If you haven't and you're doing it as you're doing this, you can go to your Kartra, create the tags, come back in here, hit refresh, and it'll collect all of that data from your account again. So I'm going to select a random tag here. Okay, you can select multiple ones. I'm selecting one. So here, my category that I selected and the tag. Here, now we need to tell it what is going in the email field inside of Kartra. And here's where you want to take data from the second step, not from the Google form, but you want to take the data from here, new lead in Kartra. Actually, no, sorry. You can select the email from here. And then the lead ID, for this one, you do need to go into the second step here and put lead ID details ID in there. So now it's basically when you do this, it pulls in the lead ID, and then this is how you can connect it and refer back to that in this final step. So I'm going to hit continue. It should show you the email there. Again, it's not in this case. I will get an error now and I'll hit skip test. But you would hit publish at the end once you confirm that everything is working. I always like to then actually test it myself as well. So I will go and do whatever the triggering event is. And then go into Kartra and see if all of the actions happened. If there is an error, you will get an email from Zapier saying that there's been an error on one of your zaps, so you will be alerted if something sort of goes awry at some point in time. Another thing that you can do is add in leads from, like for example, I used Dubsado, so you can do the same type of thing there. A couple of other ideas are using it to pull information from Kartra into something else. So, or to trigger something outside of Kartra. So one example that I shared was if you want to notify your team in Slack, let's say every time there's a purchase that happens in Kartra, you can do that. You can also, I'll do a test one here to show you quickly. Let's say notify me in Gmail when a lead. Okay. So in this example, this is something that Kartra can do. Like you will get notified from within Kartra, or you can rather, if you turn on those notification settings in Kartra when anybody fills out an opt-in form. So that is something the system can do. But if you wanted, let's say that you have a customer service or an admin person on your team, and you wanted to make sure that an instructions email or a Slack message gets sent out every time a certain opt-in form is filled in, then you can create a Zap for it. So let me just open this one up and I'll talk about that briefly. I won't go through the whole setup, but here is like when somebody fills in a particular form, let's say that there are some administrative things that need to be done each time a certain form is filled in, where there's some manual things that you need to do. This is one way to sort of help streamline that and make sure that it's not missed. So you're going to send an email to your, so you're going to send it to yourself. You can put in your email here. From, you're going to select or write in a subject. And then here in the body of the email, is where you can give directions to your virtual assistant, for example, and say, the lead has filled in this form. This is a reminder to do X, Y, Z. And so you're automating that piece and implementing a reminder system. And then in the body of that email, you can actually select the fields and the data that came in through that opt-in form. And so here you can put, okay, this is their first name. Let me just do that again to show you what I'm doing. So when you click on this box here, these fields come up down here, and then you can just select which ones you want to add in. So last name, I'm going to put their email, and maybe for some reason I want their, oh, they have a phone number. So this is their information. So it's right in the email. It's handy, as well as any instructions that you want to include. And then that's it. You would go through the publishing process. All right, hope that gave you some ideas. Again, as always, let me know if you hit any roadblocks or have any questions.